Hello, welcome to the 58th episode of Unifying Force. Cat, Dave, Gio, what's up?
Hey, how's everything going? And happy holidays to all.
Exactly right. Happy holidays, everybody. It's that time of year again.
Indeed. So, in honor of that, there's like a bunch of special stuff going on the channel. You'll get a kind of a holiday episode of Rebels Revisited, where they kind of do more like a year in review kind of thing, whatever's going on. There will be an all channel, like hosts, hopefully from almost every show, if not every show, at least one of the hosts will be appearing on a whole Star Wars year in review that we're going to film and air somewhere in the neighborhood of like New Year's Day. So look out for that. But not to be outdone is we decided here on the Unifying Force to kind of do our take on the top 10 holiday movies, and we just kind of went with the holiday movies of all time. So that kind of thing, and we're purposely saying holiday. We're saying holiday on purpose, okay? Because this is the Unifying Force. We want it to be a collective of all holidays out there. Now, on my list, not all holidays are represented. Because why? Because some of the holiday movies for a lot of the holidays are absolute garbage. Like, not garbage. And nary a Hallmark movie will appear on said list.
What? There goes my list.
Exactly.
Throw it out.
Yeah, friends, this is the last time Gio was on the show.
Gio has been excommunicated due to watching Hallmark movies. Oh, so here's a little bit about the format. What we're going to do is, in a second, I'm going to switch up the graphic here, and we're going to put some slides up for you. We're going to go through my top 10, okay? And then I'm going to let Kat and Gio react to what I have put forth and see how they agree, disagree, or possibly excommunicate me for my choices. So everybody give me just a second to kind of slide us into our next version. Boom. And there we're going to go. So the top 10 holiday movies from the Unifying Force. All right. So here, let's start with this one. I have not included any of these holiday classics because these were not feature length. A lot of what we think of as classic holiday fare, classic holiday films, not films. You know, Rudolph here, the classic stop motion animation, Charlie Brown Christmas, Chuck Jones for Life, with the classic Grinch That Stole Christmas. All of these are TV specials. So, you know, I did not include them. Give you guys a chance to say anything. Like, how do you feel about some of the TV holiday film or shows?
I mean, does this classify them in the same vein as Hallmark Christmas Channel?
No.
They're on the small screen.
I love these. What I'm saying is
Oh,
you
I
might
know.
see a future year's holiday special from us, from the Unifying Force, just going through these television classics. You know, I
There
think
sure are some.
that's worthy of that.
Maybe. Discuss that.
Perhaps.
Not a big fan. Come on, at least
There's like a couple of them that are good, and then there's a lot of them which are kind of, you know.
Can you respect the influence of the Chuck Jones there
On what?
on animation and life in general? Chuck Jones is,
Yeah, but this is, you know, the unifying force.
well, he is I mean,
It's the spirit of Chuck Jones that we see in a lot of other,
Yeah.
like madcap slapstick kind of holiday.
Well, yeah, we'll see one of his films pop up, or one of his
Jason.
inspired films pop up on the list, probably.
so
Mm-hmm.
cool. Well, anyway, so we had done that, and okay, so this was the difficult part for me. Is there are a number of kind of controversial holiday films that it is controversial whether they are holiday films or not.
Mm.
So I left them out. I was
Okay.
trying to be
Well,
unifying.
then the list is already over with if you're leaving out all the best holiday movies.
Well,
okay.
so I have chosen to not include. They have to be mentioned.
Okay, I just have to tell
Yeah.
you, if you're
Yep.
excluding these, Die Hard cannot make your list then. Because if these don't count as Christmas movies, Die Hard is not a Christmas movie by that logic then.
So by that logic, you're right. I have left out Gremlins. I've left out Lethal Weapon. I've left out Batman Returns. Edward
The
Scissorhands.
Mogwai was literally a Christmas gift in that
I
movie.
know, and I will
Batman Returns,
completely
like the
support.
ultimate Christmas movie. It's a
And
great
were this,
Oh, is that your number
were
one?
I
Gremlins.
representative of myself, this would be number one. For this representative, because I think you guys know, I just went to see this in theaters again for the 35th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a treat. It was a pleasure. But just because there is that level of controversy of, are these truly holiday films?
Well, I'm sure you got the classic Black Christmas, the original, on there, right?
You can criticize what I've gotten when we get there. You can criticize. So anyway, knowing that what my normal number one would have been is off the table, let's go ahead and start. And this was tough because I've already cheated, and it's the top 11. I couldn't limit myself. I've already cheated. So number 11, I included Halloween and Friday the 13th.
No, I didn't know these were all holidays. I thought the idea was Christmas holiday.
No, all holidays. That is why we said holiday.
Friday the 13th is not a holiday.
Friday the 13th is holiday adjacent.
Holiday.
Okay, all films are kind of holiday adjacent. If you look at the calendar from around the world.
That's right. It is a date on the calendar that some people celebrate or at least dread. But I mean, I don't know that I would have included Friday the 13th had I not included Halloween. But both of those originals, I think, in the same vein, have the same level of influence. Yes, they were low budget. Yes, they, at this point in what we have seen at this point in cinema, may well be an a tired trope. But how influential have these movies been on? Yeah, right there. Ooh, autographed.
Yeah, Nick Castle.
Very nice.
Shape.
But, you know, we even have, like, I think I don't know if it was her first role or a very early role in a later Halloween would be Bo-Katan herself. Is Katie Sackhoff started off in a Halloween movie. Not a really good one, but
no. But we do have Kevin Bacon in Friday the 13th, his first movie. Or not first movie, but one of his like after Animal House. He had I think he had a bit more screen time in Friday the 13th than he did in Animal House.
Yeah. So I like I said, I had to cheat a little bit. I had to put these guys in because I think that the influence on the holiday. And so let's start the real ones. Is
the real ones? Halloween is a real one if it's a holiday. If we're talking holiday movies, and all year round, it's literally called Halloween.
Yeah. It is. And don't get me wrong. I love these. I will sit down and watch these movies today because as you know, predictable as they are at this point because they have been done over and over again. There was a reason they've been done over and over again because these guys, they did it right.
Yeah.
This was how you set up a jump scare or the slow chase. This was where horror movie genre, I mean, it's not where it originally came from, but it's highly influential on it. So
Sure, I get that. These are definitely like genre-defining films that kind of set the precedent for a lot of what we've seen, whether good or kind of a car crash afterwards.
Yeah.
My question is, do you feel compelled to watch Halloween every time it's spooky season?
I very likely during the course of spooky season, I will watch at least one or two of the films from both of these franchises.
Okay.
You know, and sometimes it's different ones. There are ones in this franchise that I've probably not seen. So I'll sometimes try to watch a new one or, you know, Freddy versus Jason or something crazy. But yeah, but often I find myself going back to the two originals. All right, let's get into number 10 right there. Another one of another holiday right there. The masterpiece that is Groundhog Day.
So
Yeah.
we're doing 2 movies per slot?
No.
Are you cheating at every number?
Because if you really look at it, most Bill Murray movies are the same movie. And Groundhog Day and Scrooge, it's Bill Murray being Bill Murray.
Mm.
And so that was where I found it to be inseparable in my mind. Is like I said, is if I was going to put Groundhog Day on here, I'm going to put Scrooge, him doing that same kind of level of his take on the holiday movie.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely kind of group these films together because of the Bill Murray-ness of it and the kind of structure they have. But I am wondering if you've got an interpretation of the Christmas Carol here, will that disqualify you from other interpretations coming up?
So it would not. It would not it disqualify that. Now we'll get further towards that as we go on, but yeah, there's room for more than one interpretation of A Christmas Carol. I personally am a more of a fan of the Muppet Christmas Carol.
It's a really good one.
Yeah. That's
because,
my defining one.
Like the one from what, like 1984 creeps me the freak out. It
George C. Scott?
Yeah.
Mm.
So
yeah, that one definitely takes the ghost story as like the subtitle of A Christmas Carol, I feel.
Yeah. So moving on. Like I said, some of these will have 2 movies if 2 movies are kind of a tie or a similar or have some level of thing, but not all. So in number nine, repeated watchability, and I see Kat cringing already, but the meminess, the Chevy Chaseness, the just holiday popularity of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I put it at number 9. Go, Zach.
I feel like it's kind of like one gag after another, and it's just kind of everybody. Oh, okay, so the cat to the Christmas tree. Okay, Grandpa burned down the Christmas. Oh, okay, it kind of just one little thing after another. It doesn't feel like it's really building much. I just didn't think it was that funny. It's like I just want to get. I mean, I like him. I want to get out of the house and away from all these people, but I found them more annoying than I found them funny.
Yeah, I kind of similar here. I always see National Lampoon, especially this one, as kind of like skits and sketch comedy one after the other. And I feel like if it gets you within like one or two little skits, then it'll kind of build momentum and you'll like chuckle right through it. But if it doesn't hit initially, then it's kind of I'll find it misfiring a little bit. So not really my cup of festive cheer.
Yeah, I'll buy that. I mean, it is not by any means the greatest made movie of all time there, and that's why it's down at the bottom of my list, right? But is it rewatchable every year? Yeah. I mean, for me, for me and groups of people, when people are over here for holiday parties and there's something to put on, you've got that. And do all of the jokes hit every time? No. But do some of the gags and some of the jokes and some of the funniness, does it continue to hit year after year after year? Yeah, I think so. Again,
that's fair. I think, like I said, if it gets you the first time you watch it or early on in the film, then I think it kind of burrows into your kind of funny bone and stays there, tickling away. And if not, then it's maybe there are other festive films that kind of do that for the viewer.
Yeah, and even of the National Lampoon films, I think this one is probably my second favorite of them, or maybe a tie, because like the original Vacation I respect because it was what they were doing, it was, where does National Lampoon go from Animal House? Is you go to Vacation. And European Vacation, yeah, okay, we added Vegas Vacation, just no. And when they tried to hit that with the new Vacation, Rusty's grown up and what it's like, oh no, it didn't translate well to the way films were being made at the time that they made that. It was an even cruder humor than this, and that's saying something, but I'll argue that this has just worked its way into American culture, because you go out there and you say, you're in a bathrobe or something, and go shitter's full, and everybody knows where you're coming from. It's kind of weaseled its way into culture for good or for bad.
Not out here.
You don't think so?
Not really. I mean, other than they play it every year. I mean,
okay. Well, I will defer to that as well, as perhaps it is a regional or some other level of thing. All right, let's go to 8. Now I'm just
what?
Kat's initial reaction to her face.
No, just no.
I'll take that. The opposite. I say, heck yeah.
Good. So tell us what your feelings are about this film, sir, or these films.
Yes. So I think it's one of the first movies I think of when I think of Christmas films and Christmas movies approaching, and that season. And I think, I mean, sure, maybe this is nostalgia talking, but so much of that I think is taking like the spirit of different kind of comedies. Like you've got your almost Looney Tunes type slapstick dealing with the bandits. You've got the kind of coming into the zone of a young child and kind of being responsible to kind of be the guardian of the house while his family are away. I think it's got a lot of like little messages that you can read into depending on like your character and personality, but I think it, along with the way it's shot, I think cinematography really puts an emphasis on Christmas throughout the film, whether it's like just quick tracking shots of the house or other homes on the street, everything lit up ablaze almost, with like the most festive lights you could really come across. And he has a few tricks up his sleeve that are festive related, like creating like a party atmosphere to using those little cutouts to make it look like the house is occupied. And I don't know, it feels like a true holiday film with the fact that you've got that parallel story of the family having left him behind, and then the kind of furious mom trying to get back home to stay with the son once they've forgotten him. And just that kind of feeling of like transport, flying around, that kind of thing, I think is a really seasonal feel to it as well. So the last thing I would add is the use of music, I think, is exceptional in this film. And it's one of, I think, John Williams' most underrated uses of themes, which if I hear parts of this film soundtrack at any point, I'm instantly kind of back in the atmosphere of the Home Alone feel, really. So I would pump this up the list.
Cool. Excellent. And I have a lot of respect for the fact that this is one of the few holiday films that has a sequel that is kind of on par. The sequel didn't just like completely tank. And just this one, because Home Alone 3 is a travesty. And if they actually do create, and there's actually, I was looking on IMDb in preparation for this, there's like a 4 and a 5 and several other Home Alones that are like Home Sweet Home Alone, and oh my, whoa. And if they really remake this with like Macaulay Culkin today at his current age, is just no, wrong, please don't. But I mean, Lost in New York, I think is a reasonable sequel. It has even more heart. You've got the heart story of him befriending the lady with the pigeons in the park, and it's got that kind of that it if it didn't recapture the magic exactly, it came darn close.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's definitely one of the only Christmas films that a sequel has a lot of the same spirit as the original. But I think like mentioning the fact that there's an organic friendship we see just develop on screen between a complete stranger and Kevin. And while films might be afraid to portray that now, it is a different time. I think the idea of having a human character experience the loneliness and the isolation at this time of year, which is very real for some people, makes it a more grounded story. And I think the fact that you have that kind of empathy that Kevin shows makes it, in spirit and values, a very Christmas film.
Okay. I'm going to take just a second here to acknowledge those of you who are watching that if you can hear it, you may well hear like puppy whimpering throughout, and you've probably been hearing, is in the spirit of the holidays and Christmas. Is we have a new puppy in the house, and she is adjusting to her crate and being indoors with us for the holiday season, and she's not having any part of it.
So, locked in a crate?
No, not locked in a crate. She is learning that you go in the crate so you don't poop all over the house, and then you're out, and she's in a small area for the time to just get used to being indoors, because when we had the puppies all together in there, because she's the last of the litter that's sticking around, and so now she's by herself. She's not happy with that, and we're crate training her for the home. So she's there.
She has her other views of festive Christmas films. She's
Yeah,
trying to get them out.
Yeah, that might be it. Is she's like, no, this Home Alone. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'll protect the house, not
Yeah,
Kevin.
maybe she wants like Santa buddies on the list. But let's get down to number 7. Number 7, the only one from this century. Okay, the 2003 John Favreau classic, Elf. So, what are your guys' thoughts?
This is the only Will Ferrell movie where he's in the lead role that I could take it.
That's actually, yeah, that's what I agree.
Yeah, I like him in supporting roles because usually he's so over the top that okay, I could take a little bit of this, but most of the time, if it's a leading role, it's sometimes too much. But this one is the exception. This is a really good Christmas movie, and can't believe 20th anniversary this year.
I know. When we did this a couple of weeks ago on the watch along, it was like, this is 20 years old.
Yeah, jeez.
It's a big anniversary year for a lot of films. Yeah, this is Will Ferrell being, I think, managed well enough while still having his kind of zaniness, and it works. It works well. I don't have the kind of nostalgic love for this film that I think maybe people who see it at that kind of foundational age would have.
Mm-hmm.
That would be more along the lines of things like Home Alone, Miracle on 34th Street, those kind of films. But I can see why Elf is ultra popular. It's quotable. It's memorable. It has kind of Christmas tropes, but then does the whole fish out of water thing, which works quite well. I like the little homage to stop motion TV and Christmas specials with as he's leaving the North Pole to go find his real dad. So I think it also uses like that forced perspective very well. So that Will Ferrell's size actually, of course he's a big person anyway, but you do really feel that, and it adds to like the awkwardness and the kind of the goofball comedy without him saying anything.
Favreau could easily have done all of that with CGI, but chose not to, and that's the kind of thing that you got to give respect to.
Absolutely,
The directing genius, which is, no, we're going to build this contraption to where when we need to see him sitting next to an elf in the sleigh, well, the seat for the elf is like 8 feet further back, and we're shooting from an angle where you don't see that. You just see it is very much smaller. That's the genius of the man who has come to give us Baby Yoda, and a number of other things, start the MCU and give us one of the few like classic Disney to animation to live action films that are reasonably tolerable in The Lion King. But I mean, I love Elf. I love watching Elf just to speculate how much of this is just James Caan not acting and being truly frustrated with Will Ferrell's nonsense.
I see that. Yeah,
I think that's probably why they cast him.
Yeah,
exactly. It's just like, how much of is him just really fed up with being there?
Yeah, the script doesn't say much about my character. Oh, don't worry, you'll figure it out on the first day on set.
Yeah. But love this. And the thing that it came out as an interesting choice is 20 years ago we're watching, and see, this came out in November. Not right here at the holidays, but some time to like kind of build up. Is I think that early in November is an interesting choice for something that is very, very holiday oriented. We did mention on the watch along when we did this that you mentioned the stop motion stuff. Is one of the voices of the little stop motion characters, he has like 2 lines or something, is Harryhausen. Is he gets to voice a character in there, and it's not obviously the original Harryhausen. I think it's his son or grandson or I don't know. But number 6. Okay, I've taken to just I stopped looking at that, and every time I give a new one, I just look at Kat's face.
The first one's good.
Yeah.
They didn't need to do more after that. I think my favorite character in that film was Bernard the elf. Yeah, that's good. That's a good pick.
Yeah, I back this choice as well. They did it's a great standalone Christmas film with a kind of crazy beginning. Alternatively, kill Santa, and then you just read a little card, like a company card that says you must now take his identity on, and then the whole transformation thing. Yeah, it's a really good festive spin on kind of the generic Santa theme at this time of year. So it's a good shout, and definitely didn't need any sequels.
No, is the second one came the closest, but it's still so far. And by the time they got to the third one, and I don't know about people. I know there are people who are enjoying the Disney Plus season 1 and season 2 of the Santa Clauses. I know there are people that are enjoying that. It's not for me. I'm just like, whew, that's a thing that catching lightning in a bottle, you can't. And
I think part of the thing is that even with the sequels, they waited several years before they made the sequels, and they felt the need to bring the kid back.
Right.
And the storylines for the kids were god awful, like Lifetime original movie type cheese that like does not match the brand of what you had in the first movie, and just so mismatched. So yeah.
But the genius of taking, a comic, and a raunchy comic at that, who's, famous before his TV debut, of like, for a special called Don't Stand Next to a Naked Man, and you've made him a Disney household property and already.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is that you're talking about. That's how far away that is.
So Tim Allen started as kind
a
of
cocaine trafficker.
a raunchy comic. He was I've probably not quite along the lines of Eddie Murphy, which people have taken Eddie Murphy and made him into beloved characters in children's movies as well. But you take Tim Allen and you put him in this role, and he really, for a lot of kids that are of a certain age, is the definitive Santa Claus. He's like the Rockefeller Coca-Cola Santa for a generation. So I enjoyed this, but you're right. The sequels is like, not everything needs to be done over and over again.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
All right, number 5, getting closer there. Number 5, 2 holidays in one for you. The Nightmare Before Christmas. I have so much respect for this movie, and so much more respect for this movie after watching the making of documentary. If you guys have never seen that, I think it's also it may be on Disney Plus as well. But go ahead, Kat.
It's with the 4K copy of the movie as well. It's got brilliant transfer.
And I think there's an episode of The Movies That Made Us on this one as well.
Yeah.
But this is Tim Burton being as Tim Burton-y as Tim Burton could ever Tim Burton. And still creating a holiday classic. Absolutely love. You guys talk about it some.
Yeah, it's a great great holiday pick. Have not seen anything that original for a holiday movie since then. It's been 30 years now. Unlikely to see something that original again for a long time.
Yeah, it's groundbreaking. It's kind of genre crossing and hopping and holiday hopping for sure. I guess there's several months of the year that this would count as a holiday classic, and it's so inventive. kind of in an imaginative point of view, in a visual point of view. There's nothing like it, really. Yeah.
And the
great
genius
soundtrack,
of-
good songs,
you were
musical.
talking about, that's what I was going for. You were talking about how Home Alone really integrated
Mhm.
other work in there. Yes, there was an original soundtrack in there, but it involved, holiday, classic holiday songs that they'd put in the movie as well. But this one is, Danny Elfman just like turned loose.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's that same kind of thing as you get not only a stop motion classic, not only a holiday classic, you get an orchestral classic. You get this is a musical. You get a musical classic. So many genres in one. You can't not.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and okay, so this is some of my bias here. This is my top 10. This is my list. You're noticing you are getting an awful lot of 80s and 90s movies in here. This would be, my formative kind of time. But I'll still put them against just about anything. I really will.
Yeah, they definitely hold up, and this one will always, no matter how amazing CG gets, or if people rediscover in the popular format the kind of amazing things you can do with stop motion, this will still be iconic and groundbreaking. And yeah, it kind of pops in every way, visually, story-wise, imaginatively. It's got great pacing. It's not overly long, doesn't outstay its welcome like a lot of films now tend to, seasonal or not. And the soundtrack and use of music is exceptional. Has this ever been adapted for like the stage as like a musical, Broadway or?
I know that some of the actors, like I know the guy Ken Page who voiced the Boogeyman, does do every once in a while with whatever he does, like a comedian and stuff. He'll do that dance number with the like light show and other backup dancers and things as part of his show every once in a while. But Danny Elfman sang most of those, and so he doesn't really. I don't think there's a musical, and Tim Burton has been very restrictive of them doing anything else with the property. He doesn't want them to. He's like, let it be its own thing, because not everything needs to be sequelized or franchised or anything like that.
Understandable. That's definitely valid. I can imagine Tim Burton fighting for that IP and being like, "Nope, hands off."
Yeah, and I mean, it's become other cultural things. Is the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay at the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland hugely, hugely popular? The Christmas party in Disney's California Adventure is the Oogie Boogie Bash. So they're Disney is creeping into what they can get away with doing with the IP, but so far it's been tasteful.
Yeah. Well, I think they also recognize that part of it is because that movie was actually not super successful when it originally came out, and so the corporate bigwigs there don't think of it as something that they should probably, franchise like hell, even though they probably sell more merchandise. I can't imagine how much money they've made off merchandise from this movie alone. Like in New Orleans Square in Disneyland, there's a store that just had nothing but Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh,
Might still be there, but it's like, I think they might also recognize that they would need somebody like Tim Burton to do it. Well, Henry Selick is the director, of course, because that took years to do. Did you see this in theaters when they put it out in October?
I did not. I did not see this at that point.
It was really gorgeous to see it again, or to see it in the theater for the first time for me. Really great 4K transfer. You should check it out if you get a chance. I assume that's the version they've since put on Disney Plus.
Right.
I got the disc, so it's better.
Yeah, merchandise talking is like they're still putting these out for Halloween. Like when I always hit the after Halloween sales at Spirit Halloween, is I bought myself a full Jack Skellington costume this year. And for holiday pajama day at work, the last day before we leave for Christmas break, is I wore my Nightmare Before Christmas like onesie. And everybody's like, what are you doing? It's Christmas, not Halloween. And it's like, A, Jack Skellington. B, notice the Santa hat. Like,
They were all like, "What's this?"
yes.
Yeah, it's like the latest season of Fargo I've been reviewing on my other channel has heavy allusions to Nightmare Before Christmas. Enough so that the showrunner got Tim Burton's permission to do it. So that's still has a legacy 30 years later.
Absolutely. All right, number 4, talking about a legacy and 2 comedic geniuses. We did a watch along of this a few weeks ago. I was not a part of. I was on vacation. I was traveling by planes, trains, and automobiles. But this one, our watch along, our VCN watch along, at last count had nearly 1,000 views just for this. And I mean, I love this film. This film, I think, could have been the way of like Vacation, whether it's like, yeah, we love it, it's got the slapstick, it's here, there, and the other, but then you get to the end and John Hughes like reaches into your heart and just grabs it, and it's like, what? No.
It's a good movie. It's a good thing, and it's a good Thanksgiving movie because it's not a Thanksgiving movie about a bunch of people fighting and arguing at the table.
Yeah, this one has real heart, and so I think it's perfect almost any time of year. That kind of mixture of like comedy and feel good. And yeah, this I think blows the likes of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation totally out of the water. I feel like that film is almost, to me, irrelevant because of how great this film is. And I know they're very different. They're completely different styles of humor and comedy, and probably very much originally targeted for quite different audiences. But this one, I think, translates well everywhere, and I think deserves the kind of cult following and mass popularity that it got. I don't know how well it did originally when it would have been released, whether it was something that gained kind of word of mouth recognition afterwards.
Right.
I have a feeling it might have done, but this deserves to be like a smash hit holiday classic.
I think it probably did reasonably well at the time because it was released at that period where Steve Martin could like do no wrong. You know,
That's right.
he was in everything all the time and just putting out a ton of movies. This is the second appearance of John Candy on this list because if you will remember, he plays a fun role in the original Home Alone.
That's right.
You know, so I mean, yeah, I think it probably did reasonably well, but I don't think it was a blockbuster of what we would today call a blockbuster, but completely deserving to be. And imagine now, okay, this is number 4. I got 3 movies ahead of this one. And I do love this one. So my number 3, take it, leave it. A Christmas Story.
Yes, that's a Christmas classic right there.
What do you think, Gio?
I've actually not seen it. So there you go. I cannot fairly comment. Other than I know that
all others pay cash.
So yes, you need to go out and see this when you get a chance. This is 1983, and we think nostalgically about 1983. If they had made a movie about Christmas in 1983, that would still have nostalgia. But no, they're making it about small town way before in the 50s?
1940.
1940. This is supposed to take place. And I mean, just every iconic this or that. Again, I told you I have a Nightmare Before Christmas onesie. I have the deranged Easter Bunny pink fluffy onesie as well that I sport around the holidays.
That'd be something to see.
But love this movie. Watched this movie 2 or 3 nights ago with my family, and we'll probably watch it again. It's one of those things where you would think a TV station would be absolutely crazy when, like, was it TBS or TNT? I think it was TBS. Would air this for 24 hours on Christmas Eve and day.
What?
Yes.
They've been doing this every year since 1997.
And
Well, a 24-hour roll of it.
And it is, if people only catch it once, that is surprising. Generally, that is what like gets turned on and is on my television set all day. Because you can just catch your favorite parts and it's great and amazing. This is one of those.
A great poster.
What's that?
That's a great poster as well.
Oh yeah,
I like the illustration.
And like how beloved this actor has become. Again, his second appearance, Peter Billingsley's second appearance on this list, because he makes cameo in Elf, is because he is a Christmas icon from that. He is the lead workshop elf, or the manager of the workshop in Elf. They tried to make a sequel to this, The Christmas Story 2, which, again, like Kat had mentioned earlier, is when you do a movie about a kid and the kid gets older. Number one, they didn't even use the original cast.
Yeah, that was 11 years ago. That was this.
Yeah,
but they did another sequel that ignores the other sequel, and it's set in, I think, 1973, and it's after the death of the old man, and they're back together. I don't think the mom's in it, because I know Melinda Dillon had retired by the time they made that.
Yeah, the mother was not.
Okay, yeah, and they're just all getting, but they got all of the same kid actors from the original back, like nearly 40 years later, to be in the, which was said to be better. I mean, better than it had any right to be, but not, of course, it's not going to be on par with the first one.
Well, no, but I mean, I will chalk that up. I will put A Christmas Story Christmas, which is what that second sequel was called, not Christmas Story 2. Don't watch that. Don't.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what they titled it.
They tried. They tried, but no. But A Christmas Story Christmas with the original actors in there, everything except for the mother. And the mother that they got, she was great. It's one of those that if you're going to do a sequel that's that many years later, it worked. I'll put it up there with like Ghostbusters Afterlife and Top Gun Maverick. Is in that same genre of getting close to the magic that many years later. It's good. We watched that one literally last night. It's become a holiday thing too, and that one was made in 2022. So
what's great about this is that, and not only was it based on the book, but the book was taking a bunch of anecdotes from the author's life, and a lot of the stuff in there is real. He just combined a bunch of different stuff that would happen to other families in the neighborhood and stuff, and put it into one book, which was interesting. Like getting your tongue stuck to the telephone pole because it's frozen. I want a Red Ryder bead again. Oh, you're gonna shoot your eye out, kid. Like everybody telling him that, and those silly things like that. But that was and Santa and the elves being total jerks at the mall, which is something else that he said thing. But that's a good pick.
And this has become a Christmas destination.
And we recently acquired a miniature version of the famous lamp.
Yeah. See, I want, as part of our holiday decoration here, just to put in our front window, I want a full-size one.
God. I know. Just make sure if the glue is missing from your house, you'll know something bad's about to happen.
See, my wife loves this movie, I think, as much or more than I do. So I don't think anything would actually happen to it, other than the fact that we basically own the Bumpus Hounds. So it might. But is this place, the Christmas, the house that they use just for the shots of the exterior, has become a museum to it and a complex. and a destination that I think has recently come into the hands of like a super fan that's reorganizing it and putting it in even more money into it. And you can go to it, the house on Cleveland Street, and it's great. It is in Ohio, not in Indiana, the way that they say it is. But so number 2, I love me some Miracle on 34th Street, and I don't care what version it is. 1947 version. Maureen O'Hara is quite possibly my favorite actress on the planet ever. I've loved her in absolutely everything she's ever been in. One of my favorite films is The Quiet Man, her with John Wayne. But Maureen O'Hara in this, amazing, great. I will watch it in black and white. I will watch it colorized. Never in my life would I have expected them to be able to recreate the magic of that. But I mean, the 1994 version is pretty damn good. Okay, because what is it? Mara Wilson, is that her name?
Yeah, from Matilda.
She does an amazing job. It's very cool. And the Santa in both of these films, beautiful. You guys, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's good. Good pick.
Are definitely up there. And I also think they're interchangeable. I was actually more familiar with the 1994 remake. I saw that first, ahead of the black and white original. I think they're both incredible, like festive films. Got an interesting dynamic to the story as well about this identity, and it kind of encourages you to just think a little more fantastically about what you could believe in, and like the whole question of faith and the story, and does it really matter if Kris Kringle's identity isn't what you think it is, because everything around the idea of Christmas is kind of like in a good feel-good spirit, and both films really find that. And I agree with you. I think Mara Wilson in the remake and Richard Attenborough as Santa are incredible. Some of the best casting in any Christmas film for me. And I think they really do a fantastic job of capturing a lot of the feeling that you get when you think of Christmas.
Yeah, I cannot think of another straight remake of a movie, of a classic movie, that's as good. I can't. Maybe there's something, but just another just straight remake that's that far removed too. I mean, the original is 1947 and they remade it in 1994 and hit it right on the head.
Definitely.
All right. So y'all ready for number 1?
Mm-hmm.
You can probably
Let's
take
go.
some guesses at what's been missing and what there is. And having Die Hard removed, if I've removed, Lethal Weapon, Gremlins, Die Hard, you probably take a guess. And it's a sentimental choice. It's a sentimental favorite. It was really kind of a coin toss between that and this, because I love this movie. But It's a Wonderful Life. Oh. No. So, I mean, I think for its day in 1946, It's a Wonderful Life was the dark holiday movie that people are thinking. I mean, think about this. You're talking about major themes of suicide in a Christmas movie. So I got to give that respect, and you've gone and it's not like time travel, but you've kind of you get original senses of a multiverse. Is like, this is the universe of Bedford Falls without a George Bailey. You know, there's some themes that we see in way more modern movies that for 1946, I think this was a big deal. I'm not so down on like the colorized version. If I'm gonna watch this movie, I'm gonna watch this movie in black and white.
Yeah, nobody likes the colorized versions of black and white because they all look saturated and pasty and weird.
Yeah, they've got a real uncanniness to them, washed out. And I think this was always intended to be a black and white film to I think bookend it as a film of its time, because again, it's not it's a film that has multiple time periods and kind of jumps in story in the progression of James Stewart's character. So yeah, I think George Bailey, there's almost a Dickensian thing going on. Obviously, definitely a Christmas Carol inspired in that you have like an ethereal spirit intervening. Maybe not as macabre as some versions of A Christmas Carol and what was originally written. That was 1864, though. It's a very different time. And society had changed quite a lot. And I think this film captures this sense of optimism and hopefulness that was really needed so soon after World War II. And shows that it's like no man is an island, no person is an island. We are as good as maybe the company we keep and the community we can try and build around us. If you have that privilege to be able to offer that to people, then whether you make a difference to a single person or multiple, and you can change your hometown. It's very idealistic, might not be so realistic, especially now, but I think beneath the initial sense of it's a man who's thinking of contemplating the end of everything, to be able to rekindle that with genuine kind of hope and optimism. I keep coming back to those words, but I guess that's why some people might consider it like a cliche and maybe too on the nose, too direct, maybe in its messaging. But I think that also, having just fully appreciated this very recently from beginning to end, I've seen bits of this film and heard so much about this film in passing or in having it on TV in the background kind of thing, but not really giving it my full attention from the first second to the final credits. This is, I understand why it's iconic. I understand why it's the top of many lists, and it deserves to be considered right up there, if not amongst the top tier.
And I mean, I realize there are a lot of films that could have done the same, that could be in this same position. There are a lot of the holiday films. Like I said, is Miracle on 34th Street so could have been there. I'm sorry, is it's Christmas and I'm looking for a sappy, hopeful movie. Is like if it weren't like a made for TV deal, I could have put A Very Brady Christmas right there, because when they go in and they start singing when Mike Brady is trapped in the collapsed building, that's hope, and it's a tear every time.
A Very Brady Christmas, really?
Yeah.
I'm just shocked it's being mentioned at the same time as It's a Wonderful Life. I would never have guessed in the same paragraph. They would,
in the level of hopefulness. And we talked about it, and you'd mentioned A Christmas Carol earlier. And just, this is one of my personal biases, and I kind of get that, is Christmas Story creeped me out. The 1984 version, just as soon as he opens his robe and reveals the two children, and it's like, and I just like, and I know the meaning and I understand why it is, and it speaks to how powerful that film is that it does that to me, but it turns me off to A Christmas Carol. It is the just depressing situation of Dickens, that just being that Dickensian kind of thing is what makes me not have that on my list. Now, if I had gone a little bit further out and I had chosen to not include other holidays, very likely I would have had a version of that, either the Patrick Stewart version of that or A Muppet's Christmas Carol right there. Because Michael Caine in that is just, again, you just want to, it's like Elf and James Caan. You're just like, how much of this is just Michael Caine just being pissed off that this is what his life has become and what he's doing? But I want, and I think you see in a lot of this, is I want a comedic or a heartfelt or a hopeful Christmas movie. And for so much of A Christmas Carol, it's not that.
This is just a boring movie about corrupt bankers, and it takes way too long to get to the point where, he tries to kill himself and Clarence shows up. And when that happens, they rush the whole ending. It's like, oh, he's here for like 10 or 15 minutes and he's changed his mind. Oh, it's over. It's like, wait, what? It's like, isn't that kind of what the movie's like? Everybody says, what's It's a Wonderful Life about? Oh, this is about the guy who hated his life and thought everything was horrible. And then he gets shown by his guardian angel how things would actually be if he wasn't there. But that doesn't come about until like the very end of the movie. And it's like, I'm watching this. It's like, I feel that it doesn't need to have as many or as many hoops to jump through to get to that point. So I was watching this. It's like, now I understand why all of the different, riffs on it always focus on that last part with the iconic part of the story, because the first 90 minutes is not that. It's him being, you watch George Bailey kind of growing up a bit and being a super great guy, and then the mix up happens. It's like, okay, I'm kind of watching. I'm like, come on, let's get to it.
See, I'm opposite, and I will disagree, because what Gio is saying is, you've seen bits and parts and bits and pieces. That's not me in this movie. I will sit down like Elf. Yeah, I'll watch whatever. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I'll have it in the background. A Christmas Story. It will play all day. If this is on, I am sitting there and I'm watching it and I am paying attention to it. Because that is the level of I want to absorb all of it. And yeah, you got to sit through the beginning and the setup. You've got to sit through that to really appreciate who George Bailey is.
Yeah, I just feel that there's 90 minutes of setup and only 20 minutes of payoff.
Yeah,
I was about to say that. Yeah, I was actually about to say that. Yeah, I will agree. I am shocked at how much time elapses before you get to the kind of meat and bones of what the story is. And I feel like maybe all the descriptions and synopses and the copy for this film back when people would look at, what's coming on the Christmas schedule, like people would print that out and see what the TV schedule is for the holidays. All the descriptions of this film completely give away the final 30 minutes. I mean, I was surprised at the on-screen time being given to what I would imagine would have been two halves of the film, rather than 2/3, maybe even 3/4 of the running time of, I think it's 121 minutes, versus when Clarence first takes form and throws himself in to save George and kind of undo everything that we've been heading towards. But then on the other hand, I can see that all these vignettes through his life, it's almost like slice of life type writing, where you're just kind of observing this character through his life's ups and downs, and at all points he's always been selfless, has always given something else and sacrificed what might have been his priority at that time in his life, and done it unthinkingly, whether it's with Harry in the beginning, falling through the lake and just throwing himself in again. He's somebody who doesn't kind of pontificate and wonder and ruminate. He just selflessly jumps in, and you get that in all the vignettes, even if it takes 90 minutes to go through them, to see the kind of character of George Bailey's life. But maybe because this film is so in the zeitgeist and culturally has impacted lots of other portrayals of Christmas stories, or even other versions of A Christmas Carol, that it's maybe too familiar, or feels like it's kind of slow-paced and not really going to that thing that we know the film is famous for.
Yeah, but the only thing that will take me out of this film a little bit, and I understand it was limitations of the industry at the time, is that kind of younger, kind of late high school George Bailey that's being played by an adult Jimmy Stewart. As
Yes, that was also
Like-
something I was chuckling at that. Yeah, I was like, how is Jimmy Stewart this 18-year-old and his brother's 17? What's going
Yeah,
on? Why is he at the school dance? What's going on here?
We could have had another, like a high school. We could have had another actor at that point of Jimmy of George, but I've seen it enough times that I acknowledge that, and I look at it, and because of Jimmy Stewart's portrayal, yeah, I just have to go past that, and it's, but yeah, is I want the hope here. So
Yeah.
let's talk about. I am sure you have opinions on what did I miss? Where was there? You know, you've talked about a little bit of this should have been higher, that should be, but what's out there that's just not on this list that's a glaring omission?
Batman Returns, Edward Scissorhands, Gremlins, Die Hard. If it's a holiday, I would say maybe Prince of Egypt, because that's Passover holiday. That was a pretty good movie from DreamWorks.
Ooh, I like that a lot. Yes.
That's a good
Born on
show.
the 4th of July, or for maybe for July 4th.
Now, now this crossed my mind, but didn't, is one of my favorite films that it came on TV every year during a holiday is the 10 Commandments, Charlton Heston's 10 Commandments, which used to air every Easter. But it's not really, that's not what the movie's about.
Yeah.
Sure.
But it's a movie I strongly associate with a holiday.
Yeah, Edward Scissorhands and Batman Returns make the list because it's about very lonely, suicidal people.
Yeah.
And that spikes during the holidays.
Well, and that's a lot of Lethal Weapon as well. Lethal Weapon is all about Martin Riggs' character, being, because it's the silly season that he talks about is that he is suicidal as well.
And then with Batman Returns mixing in all the Moses parallels as well, combines the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gremlins, because not only is the Mogwai a Christmas gift, but even though the Gremlins managed to take over the town, it is practically a Christmas miracle that they managed to destroy and save everybody by the film's end. Much like John McClane it's a Christmas miracle that he was able to save everybody from the thieves.
And that is all about family, is what that is. Would John McClane had been as motivated in that if Holly Gennaro was not one of the captives?
Well, up to a point, because he's still stuck in the building with the bad guys.
But how stuck was he? Could he, not have crawled down a ladder in the elevator shaft and beaten the one guard in the lobby, and he's out? He's gone.
I suppose he could have done that, yeah.
I think that would have been a lot easier kind of thing than, no, we got to save the day.
I see that.
And it's family, and it's a buddy movie. It's about friendship, the friendship that he establishes with Reginald Vell Johnson. Oh no, I will argue that all the time. As I argue that, we had got into a little bit of that on one of the watch-alongs with the Nerf Herders, because they are adamant that is not a Christmas movie, and I was like, ho ho ho, I have a machine gun now.
It's the most famous Christmas pullover and screen. Yeah, you could also say that it's about one person spending, I guess, 95 minutes trying to escape Alan Rickman in a tower. It's also a Harry Potter movie.
Yeah, I've seen that one. I've seen the other one where it is
a lot of good memes.
We're taking back a tower from the bad guys. That Die Hard is really a Hanukkah movie.
Yeah. There you go. It crosses holidays. There's one for a lot of more people. I'd put Die Hard right at the top. I think it qualifies for a Christmas movie as much as some of your other honorable mentions that you omitted from the list. Yeah, because of their kind of gothic otherworldliness, and that comes from Tim Burton for the main two I'm thinking of, which is A Night Before Christmas and Batman Returns. I would always keep those high up. Anytime I even see them written down somewhere, I think of Christmas. I think of snow. I think of that time of year and that impact that it had when I first saw them. I think they're such memorable films. And yeah, you could add Edward Scissorhands to that. I wouldn't personally, but I can see why some people might relate that to Christmas as much as some of these other films that might not be counted, or people might say is Christmas adjacent, which is just cheating. Just say, is it a Christmas movie? Is it not a Christmas movie? It's okay either way. And Home Alone would also be at the top, probably fighting Miracle on 34th Street in the top 3, definitely top 5. And I would count It's a Wonderful Life in my top 5 too, because I think it replaces the Christmassiness from a lot of other films. Maybe a Muppets Christmas Carol is my favorite version of the Christmas Carol story by far. One of the first versions I ever saw of it. And even though it is one of the most reinterpreted stories on paper and on screen ever in the English language, I think it's the earlier you see that story, I think the more you will hold on to that version, give or take maybe a few years if you see it very young or not. But yeah, Michael Caine is my Ebenezer Scrooge, beyond like anyone else. So that will always be top tier Christmas film for me.
Yeah, like I said, as I admit my bias towards that. I really do. Michael Caine is really high up there. I like that. I have grown to appreciate, I think even more than Michael Caine, is the Patrick Stewart.
Okay.
I enjoy that one is not as dark as the 84, but not as light as the Muppets. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a number of others. I think we could have done a top 50 of this, and there's films out there, because there's there's Prancer, there's Santa Claus the movie, there's I don't know. There's Ernest Saves Christmas. I just watched that one again last night. And if you want a comedic kind of feel good type of thing, you get that. So
right.
There's nothing. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, there's not too much I would change from your list other than definitely take National Lampoon out of there.
Yeah.
And throw in, I think, one film that will always remind me of every holiday ever. It spans Christmas time into New Year, is Trading Places.
Oh.
I think you have Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd at the top of their game, in their prime, giving 2 standout performances. It's satirical, it's tongue-in-cheek, it's really crazy. I think the comedy mostly holds up and will always hold up. And yeah, it's just the rush that you see of how Dan Aykroyd's life just falls apart so quickly and so drastically. That image of him being like a completely out of his mind drunk Santa slobbering all over the place is one of the most memorable Santa visuals I'll ever have, even though it's awful. But the entire film leading to the climax on the train, the whole fact that you've got supporting characters who evolve and have their own arcs, like Jamie Lee Curtis. I think it's an incredible film and would definitely round out my top tier of Christmas films.
I love that. That did not even cross my mind in this, but now that you mention it, it's like, wow, that. And we'll see, how things change in the future. Like on this list, only one of those was from this century. We'll see how things evolve and how you feel going down. the road is, who knows with the generation that's coming up now, will Violent Night become a beloved holiday film? Lord knows. And if you haven't seen that, it's worth a watch, just to see where people are going today. But not for the children, for you. But yeah, I think we're there, and we've had it. And I'll always go with, if there's nothing on a holiday, sitting there around with family and friends, is I'll turn on the original trilogy all day, every day.
I was going to say that too. Yeah, I mean, the fact that the Return of the Jedi is such a celebration of everything and togetherness with nature, with the triumph of good over evil, with the redemption of Anakin Skywalker. That's the center theme, you'd say, for A Christmas Carol is redemption.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's in theme, in maybe like a moral analysis of things. I think the Star Wars original trilogy has a lot of the themes that are in a lot of Christmas films that make you feel good and have that nostalgic heart. And yeah, I'll always give the Star Wars. They'll always forever be associated with holiday, just time off, spending it as you can. If you have the choice of putting on a film, then that would be at the top. And
Well,
the holiday special though.
well, we don't even talk about that.
We talked about this in the pre-show. The holiday special gets left out because that was a television special.
A TV made, yeah.
It was made for TV. That's a whole other discussion. But yeah, I associate Star Wars with the holiday season because so many of them did come out in December. And like for a couple of years there, it was my little brother, is his Christmas gift to the family would be movie tickets. Everybody got the movie ticket for one showing, and we all went to see the sequel trilogy in theaters together after Christmas. That was what we all got. So
sure, that's nice.
Yeah.
With the Star Wars trilogy, I would also put up there the Lord of the Rings for me, even though it's like not ostensibly Christmas themed, but just the association with holiday
adjacent.
Yeah, holiday adjacent.
Yeah,
I'll take the adjacent term for that trilogy any day. But the fact that you have this kind of sense of found family, adventure, courage, and the enduring of hardships, that you've got Frodo and Sam that ultimately are fighting a total battle of loneliness and corruption, and then the idea of that triumph at the end, I think we'll always associate with Christmas, as well as the fact that they released in late December.
Yeah.
December 18th, I remember being used twice for two of those three films.
Once.
At least here.
Oh, here.
Well, at least here, yeah. That was actually, in digesting those trailers and watching them again and again in anticipation of the films, is when I started to realize that there was slight differentiation depending on region on when movies would release, because the dates of like the international trailer being different from like the US one or the UK one. So that was cool. And to that end, I would also add some of Harry Potter, also holiday themed. And to me, I know it's very basic, but the idea of witchcraft and wizardry, I always associate Harry Potter with Halloween too.
Mm-hmm.
And to a couple of friends I know, that's the default association they have, the chance to make everything witchcraft and wizardry and get their families involved.
Direct association, because I think a pivotal part of one of the first two, I think it might be the first Harry Potter movie, a pivotal part happens when Harry and Ron are left at Hogwarts over holiday break, over Christmas break.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that happens in a lot of them, but okay. Anything else?
But I think that's it. I think that's what I've got.
Yeah, we're 79 minutes in, so we got.
All right. Well, we've gone over when we do our top 10 lists, and we're there. Thank you all for joining us. Those of you who are watching this on repeat, please go ahead, put your comments, put your lists in the comments, and we can react to those on a future show or in the comments, and we'll do that. And until the next time, as always, happy holidays and may the force be with you.
Happy holidays, everyone.